What's up, guys? Welcome to GT Content. I'm Gary. There may be a few people that are curious to know my Toyota Tacoma story, and the short answer to that is I didn't, and then I did. Let me give you the backstory. So my previous truck before this one was a 2011 Chevy Silverado 2500 HD. It has the 6-liter V8 making around 350 horsepower with 6-speed automatic transmission, extended cab, and 8-foot bed. It was reliable. I can haul anything I wanted because of the 8-foot bed, like 2x4s, plywood, furniture, mattresses. I also got 60 miles per gallon, which was very good for a large heavy truck with this amount of power. It was a great truck. I have no complaints about it except one, and that was that it was just too large. I couldn't really take it anywhere. You know, parking was an issue, just with even coming inside my garage was an issue. So eventually I figured, you know what, maybe it's time to cut back. And I told myself, okay, I would have to sell this truck first before I start looking for another one, because it makes no sense to look for something when I'm not really forced to, because this truck meets most of my requirements. So eventually it got sold. So now it's kind of like, okay, the truck's sold. Now it's time to look for a truck. What's in the used market? That's where I started first. So I started looking at my parameters. Okay, what was the complaint with the previous truck? It was too big. So that means I have to move to the small truck or the medium-sized truck. Well, what did I want in a small or mid-sized truck? My requirements were a 6-foot bed, crew cab, and 4x4, because I snowboard, so I want to be able to go up into the snow and not have to really worry much about traction issues up there. With the 6-foot bed, I can leave the tailgate open and it would become an 8-foot bed if I needed to transport larger items. The crew cab is in case I have passengers in the back seat that they may be comfortable. Obviously, the next thing is price. You know, what am I willing to spend for this thing? I was thinking around $10,000 to $15,000 for a decent used small to mid-sized truck, but boy was I in for it. I then went on to AutoTrader, Craigslist, Cars.com, etc. with my parameters and started my search. It led me towards the first generation Toyota Tacoma. So the best years for the first generation were 2001 to 2004, but as I found out, those ended up being too expensive, high mileage, and old. They were running for around $10,000 to $15,000 or more with 125,000 miles or more, depending on the condition and trim. So I was like, okay, let's go to the second generation. Researching the second generation, you want to look at the 2013 to 2015. So it really narrowed everything down in the second generation. The clean examples I was seeing in my area were running for around $25,000 with around 125,000 miles. And the color options weren't even what I was looking for too, and some of the features weren't what I was looking for. The second generation that I was looking at purchasing was already getting close to a used third generation Toyota Tacoma, so I was like, okay, this is just getting ridiculous. The third generation I was looking at was an SR5. After that, I figured, you know what, let me see what a brand new one costs, and I went on Toyota.com to use their configurator and found out that I can get an SR5 for around $35,000. So then I caught myself and I was like, okay, how much does a TRD cost? So I went on the Toyota configurator again, and to get a TRD wasn't that much from an SR5, and you get much better features too. The SR5 was listed for around $35,000 in the Toyota configurator, and the TRD Off-Road was listing for around $38,000 in the configurator. So it's a no-brainer. It's just $3,000 more and you get a better truck. And in case you guys are wondering, Toyota doesn't offer an SR trim with my requirements. So with the TRD options, I looked at the Sport, the TRD Off-Road, and the TRD Pro. And the best bang for the buck I found was the TRD Off-Road. The Sport just offered aesthetics. Now, going to the TRD Pro, that is like a $10,000 jump. That is just too high of a jump. So I stuck with the TRD Off-Road. The issue with the TRD Pro is that it's not offered with a 6-foot bed. so that eliminates it from my list. So now I've narrowed it down to a TRD off-road. I didn't mention it earlier, guys, but I was also looking for white. Call me simple. I just like white for a truck. My previous truck was also white. It was easier to clean. There's a lot of dust in the environment I live in, and you don't really notice it much when it's dusty. So now I'm like, okay, this is going way beyond my price range. I was hoping to pay around $10,000 to $15,000 for a used truck, but now I'm going even beyond that. And if I'm going beyond that, I'm not trying to pay extra for features that I'm not going to use. So I was looking for a pretty simple, basic TRD off-road package. And remember, I needed a 6-foot bed, crew cab, 4-wheel drive, and in this case, the TRD comes standard with a V6 engine. Now the search begins. I contacted local Toyota dealerships to see what they had in stock, and most of them did not meet my requirements. Just in case you weren't aware, the Tacoma's received some of its biggest updates in 2020, so it was great timing on my end, but there was also another problem. Being that this was the end of the year, it was hard to find a 2020 with my requirements. Tacomas just don't sit on the lot from what I found out, and what I also found out is that due to this pandemic, there was apparently a shortage and dealers were marking them up like crazy because of the high demand. That just sucked because I was looking to find a good deal. Well, on the positive side, since it was the end of the year, the 2021s have also started being introduced, so it was a no-brainer to look for a 2021. Eventually, I got in contact with a family friend who worked at a local Toyota dealership, and it took some time, but he was able to find what I was looking for. And this thing was marked up, but they were willing to work with me. They had great customer service and they were local. So I was able to acquire this Toyota Tacoma, and the price, well, I didn't pay markup, that's all I can tell you guys, but I'll be sure to make another video on how much I paid for this Toyota Tacoma. So if you're interested, hit that subscribe button and notification bell for future Tacoma content. So as I mentioned earlier in the video, I didn't plan to buy one, but after thorough research, I did. So now I have become a 3rd generation Toyota Tacoma owner, and so far driving this truck for about 1,000 miles now, it is such a great truck. You know, the fuel mileage could be better. I'm still breaking it in, so I'll keep you guys updated, but it is so nice to drive on the road. I was expecting it to be really noisy because of the tires. I never went off-road with my previous trucks because they were only rear-wheel drive, but in this case, being that it's 4-wheel drive now, I will definitely go out and get some off-road experience. And that concludes my Toyota Tacoma story. Let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments section below. Like I said, I will be making another video about how much I paid for this Tacoma in case you guys are curious about that also. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button and also that subscribe button for future content. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next video.